Hey everyone, this is Jenny. For this episode of Hyphenated, we're taking you to one of my favorite places in the world, a comic book convention. Not only is this our first in-person episode, but it's also our first on-location episode, recorded live at the 2022 Latino Comics Expo in Long Beach, California. This was our first time trying anything like this, and we know the audio is a little different than usual since we were in the middle of a busy convention hall. So please bear with us. It starts off a little rough, but the sound improves soon after. Enjoy!
We're rolling?
Rolling?
Okay, for real now.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanna.
And I'm Jenny.
And this is Hyphenated, the podcast about living in the hyphen. Now this is a very, very different and special episode. First of all, Jenny and I are sitting next to each other for the first time in Hyphenated history. Momentous occasion. But I'm sure you guys can hear in the background some bustling, some talking, some life. And it's because we aren't at Jenny's house or at my house. We are at a convention. We are recording this podcast from a convention.
Yes, we are here at the Latino Comics Expo in Long Beach at the Museum of Latin American Art, known as MOLA. And this is also a very special occasion because it's Joanna's very first comic book convention.
Yo, I was freaking out. I literally called Jenny in the morning and I'm like, yeah, what do I wear? What does one wear?
Just wear like a, geek t-shirt and some jeans.
I was like, perfect. I just own that. And you were like, yeah, just wear some Converse and you're good. And actually, I'd say like 65% of the people here are wearing Converse. I feel like those numbers are working in my favor. So this episode is going to be really interesting. We're actually going to be talking to more than one guest. And we're going to be talking to them in person, like looking at someone's face directly, which is weird since the pandemic that we're going to be doing that.
Yes. It's actually my first comic book convention since before the pandemic. So it's also a pretty big deal for me.
We're going to have a lot of people coming to us today, but we have a very special guest sitting at the table with us right now at this very moment. Ricardo Padilla. You are the creator of this experience, of this day.
Wow.
I mean, this is a big deal. This is kind of your day. This is kind of like your birthday in a way.
Yes.
It is.
And 10 years.
So what makes this comic book convention different than all other comic book conventions?
Well, you know what? We're really proud that we are the nation's largest gathering of Latino and Latina comic book artists and creators. We've been able to create a safe space for creativity, literacy, and basically it started because when my kids were small, we would go to Comic-Con, go to these big conventions, and you would hardly see any Latina creators, any guys, Latino guys, maybe one here, one there. And my kids would be frustrated because, I told them all the Aztec stories, all the Mayan princess folk tales. So when we go to shows, conventions, they would say, Daddy, where are the Mayan princesses? Where are the Aztec stories? And I would look around and I would complain, and finally they said, you know what, you better just do your own show. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the birth of it. And now 10 years later, here we are.
So how many people on average have gone to this convention annually?
Well, you know what, we kind of got a little jib with the COVID. This is our first in-person show in a couple of years, but before this, our last show, we had about 80 artists from all over Latin America. And we were averaging about, 3,000, 3,500 guests over the weekend.
Oh my God.
That is huge.
So we're trying to build our momentum now back again. So thank you to Mola for hosting us again.
No, this is great. And so what goes into sort of putting this together? Like, I've been walking around. This is my first comic book convention. Okay, Ricardo, this is like a big deal for me. So I'm walking around and I'm seeing all these artists, all these comic books, everyone with very distinct styles, a lot of them with very specific cultural point of views. A lot of stuff that looks very Mexican, stuff that looks very Dominican. People really sort of digging their heels into their culture and having that be part of their visual aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit it right on the nail. That's what I love about our show. Is because, I love Comic-Con too. Don't get me wrong, Comic-Con International, if you're listening.
Yeah, of course.
Comic-Con, this isn't about you. Okay, relax. Don't be pissed, okay?
Exactly. But, you go there and they've got Twilight, they've got...
It's very mainstream.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Hunger Games. But here I like it because it's like the old days of indie music, indie hip-hop.
Yeah.
But that's where you find the gold.
Thank you.
obviously I'm sitting here with a Marvel shirt on, but I like to read more independent comics.
Yes.
You really, and that's how I feel about independent film as well. Like, you find a lot of the most unique and original ideas and storylines and characters than you do in the mainstream stuff. But they try to be, first of all, too bland and too safe.
Right.
And not very representative.
And right now I tell people we are really in the golden age, especially of Latino, Latina comic books and animation.
Yes.
Everybody's focusing on Aztec culture, Mayan folklores, lucha libre, lowrider culture, personal stories, coming out stories, LGBTQ stories, all in comic book, graphic novel form. That's why I feel responsible. It's like, I got to get these stories out. My family helps me do it. Mola. It's the golden age of Latino comics right now.
What do you think makes the comic format sort of a friendly invitation to have these like more complex conversations? Like, you have like the first graphic novel I ever read was Mouse, right?
Yes,
and Mouse
yes.
is basically about the Holocaust.
Yes.
It is like a horrific story, but it is told in such a beautifully
Yes.
visual way.
Yes, that'll still make you cry.
It still make you cry, right? But it's this weird amalgam of a movie, a book, and a magazine, all mixed into one.
No, you're absolutely right. And especially like in Latino communities, we have like a 50% dropout rate. And what we notice, especially with literacy and young boys, very visual.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
You need to see yourself in the story. You need to see stuff that'll interest you in reading. Or else by 8 or 9 years old, the little Latino boys, we lost them.
But it makes sense. I mean, we talk about it a lot, how we both have ADHD. I got diagnosed late. She got diagnosed younger. But for me, comics have always been, even as an adult, are just easier for me to digest
that's
and
so
read.
It's a gateway drug to
Yes,
reading.
absolutely.
drug to literacy.
They should have had us doing book reports on comics back in the day.
I like her.
Yeah, it's true, but yeah.
I never thought of that. So,
And
because
especially young readers, they need to see pictures.
It
And then,
makes sense.
but
It
when you
makes
said
sense.
literacy, it didn't click for me until you said it out loud. That if you give a kid a book that is visually stimulating and has words attached to it, maybe someone that feels a little overwhelmed when they open a book feels more welcome to be reading this type of content. And especially when they're in it, when they see themselves
Yeah.
reflected.
yeah, and they're
Sure.
saying, oh, this looks like my abuelita. Oh, this looks like my tío Pepe.
Yeah.
Or this is based in East LA. Or this is based in the South Bronx. It's like, I want to read that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when I first saw Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. It was so freaking cool
We
to
were
see
crying that one
an
too.
Afro-Latino talking Spanglish with his mom.
I think we've influenced them. I'll be honest with you, because we've been doing it for 10 years, and now all of a sudden, throw us a bone over here. But I've been noticing everybody's got a little diversity. Everybody's got
Oh,
a little,
claro. Now they're starting
Yeah.
to do it.
whatever we can do to expand, because especially in our community, people are hungry for it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
From the OGs to the young people, they really love being seen.
And you know what's
Yeah.
interesting is there's this concept of magical realism, realismo mágico, right? This sort of exaggerated magical version of life. And that is very much what I've seen today in all the books I've been looking at. I think graphic novels are like very naturally Latino in culture.
It's a natural thing. And
It's
that's
a natural connection.
That's why I always tell people I only read Latino comics. I'm sorry.
I mean, and it's also something where it's like Latino geeks have been around forever. We're like super nerdy and very into the macabre and horror and superheroes.
We're definitely
But
into goth. We're into goth.
We're not represented that way
We're
in
into
mainstream,
Morrissey.
though. But look at everybody
Yes,
here.
sir.
And even when I go to the Comic Cons and stuff, I see a lot of Latinos.
No, that's why I'm so proud that we have a safe space. It's like
Yes.
you can be BIPOC, you can be whatever, you can be a nerd. This is the spot for you, the Latino Comics Expo.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. In the moment I walked in, I felt so welcomed and so
Yeah,
we very much belong here.
With my
Hyphenated
people.
belongs here. And
My
the amount
Latino
of
geek.
people we've talked to, and we're so excited to continue on the conversation with some remarkable artists that you've brought together today, Ricardo. Thank you so much
You're
for
doing
inviting
something
us.
very important.
Yes.
And I know you know that, but it's good to hear it too.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for your support. It means a lot. Thank you.
Ricardo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we have another incredible, wonderful, very talented person joining us at our table. Kayden Phoenix, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So You are the founder of Phoenix Studios. You're creator of a series of female-forward superheroes, right?
Yes.
We're really excited to talk to you today because, first of all, you are like us. You are a female in a generally male-dominated world, and you're a badass. And we like to consider ourselves badasses a little bit. Sometimes I don't know.
It's true.
You are. But you're a filmmaker that sort of came into this world of comics.
Yes.
What was that transition? What made you transition?
So everybody asked me. So I wrote out a feature-length screenplay of Jalisco, and I shot a short film, and I showed people because my MO, and it's still my mission objective, is to get a movie on the big screen.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right? Because we don't have Latino superheroes
Yep.
still.
Yep.
As an origin story feature-length, feature movie.
Yeah.
And so I was like, great, let me do a screenplay, let me do a short film so I can show them the tone, blah, blah, blah. And everybody I showed, they're like, where's the comic? And every single time I was like, no. And they're like, where's the comic? And every time I was like, no, because I don't read comics and I can't say that anymore. But I did not in 2019 and prior. And so it was no. And then it was like, okay, truth by consensus is like, everybody thinks there's a comic of Jalisco. There should be a comic of Jalisco.
And this is Jalisco. Tell us a little bit about Jalisco.
Jalisco dances folklorico, which is Mexican dance. And the blades come out of her dress, so she can deflect bullets, or she goes like that and they shoot out as well.
Oh my
Killer.
God.
And someone is walking around
Yes.
the expo right now cosplaying.
Yeah. So she has little fake blades, which is really cool. She has
So
her
cool.
folklorico
It was
dress.
a fantastic cosplay.
Yes. I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I didn't know she was coming. I didn't know her until she came to my table.
Oh my gosh.
But yes.
So this is sort of like, it's storyboarding a movie.
Yeah, it's really the same thing. Like instead of saying I'm a producer, this one I'm an editor. That's like the equivalent of the word. So like same thing. I'm HR. I'm accounting. I pay people. I fire people. I'm everything. I do this very horrible storyboard. So very scary stick figures of all my characters. But like the black dress because my mom knows what to go and she had a black dress. My grandma's the Jalisco. It's all parts that I like, and then. Different palettes, like everything makes sense. Or for me, it makes sense in my mind. I was like, okay, let me relate to the artist so that they can understand it as well.
Right.
I was like that with my film because I was an actor turned filmmaker. And people are always going to tell you, oh, you can't. You can't transition. You got to be like you should have been making films since you were 5. I don't know. Like you should have or you should have been into comics since that doesn't invalidate you in any way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's important to see that how you can transition different mediums and it's never too late.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pivot. The way I say, it's still storytelling instead of moving frames, so they're just stills, right? You only get one shot. As a director, you can't do coverage. You're like, okay, it has to be a medium shot, it has to be a wide, that's establishing. Which is it works as directing as well. Like I still use everything that I know from writing and directing in this.
Yeah, that's really freaking badass.
That's actually very smart. So what made you sort of lean into finding different characters that represent different people? Like this, Bandita is Dominican from New York.
Like you decided to represent people outside of your own culture.
Yes, it's important, honestly.
Yes.
Like she's an Afro-Latina, and I only had 5 superheroes, so I couldn't cover everyone. Like there's no Southern Americans, unfortunately. That's my volume 2. There's gonna be more origin stories of other superheroes. But within my 5 that I could, that I knew little things about them, like my New Yorker, I grew up watching Western movies. Supernatural is the Loquita one, because my family loved scaring me when I was small with ghost stories, and I was like, great, I can do that. So they all have little parts of me in it.
Yes, that's so pretty.
Yeah, the Afro-Latino, same. It's just important. It's Dominican. We don't see curly hair. We don't ever see anything, in that regard, which is unfortunate in media or TV or film.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think has been stopping us from being portrayed in this way?
One is the status quo, right? Upholding the status quo, but it's also like, you think of Marvel and DC, what superheroes do we have that are Latina? We barely had America Chavez, that came out a few years ago, and now she's in Doctor Strange, which is great. She still doesn't have a Santa logo.
No.
What else do we have that's female?
I know. I draw a complete blank.
No, I know, but that's the whole point. It's like
It's
we don't have anybody to be like, oh, how about this one? How about this one? We don't.
No.
In the independent comic world, we kind of do. We have 3, which is better than 0. But
Yes.
we just don't have it.
No.
It's interesting because I was talking to a friend of mine who works at Marvel, and they were like, oh man, we were looking for a Latina superhero, and there's none that is originally Latina. We have to take an existing superhero and add that element to it. But what I love about your characters is that their identity is completely inculcado in what their superpower is or what the big bad is.
Correct.
It isn't just an added layer. It is the absolute essence of who they are.
Thank you.
And I think that makes it incredibly, incredibly special.
Thank you. And then the extra added thing is that they're all Latino artists, which is also like, I named it on the panels.
Oh, yeah.
I say name a Latino artist and I wait. And nobody answers.
Oh.
And then I say name a female artist and I wait, right? I made it simpler.
And
Right?
it's still silence?
Yeah. I mean, I can say Jen Bartel. That's the only one I can name, which is unfortunate because I'm in comics now. But I can only name one girl and that's it. And so it's just like, we just don't exist, right? It's not even erasure. We just don't even exist in the first place. But I'm like, there's 4 artists here. There's 4 artists in every single one of these books.
The artwork is beautiful, and I love that you're hiring Latinas,
Thank you.
and that is how this should work.
Yes.
You know, just more of us creating and hiring, and then you keep giving the ladder to the next person.
Thank you. Yep. Turn it back around. Bring them in.
For anyone out there,
Yes.
you know, that is new to this world or that doesn't know much about this world, what would you tell them?
Especially to other filmmakers who want to bring their stuff to comics.
Okay, so for filmmakers, absolutely, you can it's very easy to pivot. Honestly, it's still storytelling. You just have to learn, you know, instead of saying you need an actor, a first AD, a gaffer, etc., you need your pencil, ink, color, letter. And it's all researchable. I learned it all online. Like, nobody taught me anything. And so, you know, and just research. That's my thing for everybody is just research it. Like, know who the greats are, because I had to start reading comics. I was like, I looked it up, the top 10 on YouTube of the best comics.
Yeah,
right. And everyone
it's
says
all there.
it's literally just Alan Moore, right? It's The Killing Joke, it's Watchmen, it's Hyphenated, it's anything Alan Moore did, which is just odd.
Yeah.
But I was like, great, let me read them. And so Watchmen are 3x3, so 3 panels across and 3 panels down. So this was my first one. Like, these are 4x4s, so 4 across and 4 down on every single page. This is before we got like creative, but technically should have been 4x4 on all of them. And so, you know, you kind of learn the basics that you can learn and expand and grow from there.
Damn. I am inspired as hell.
Jenny's going to go and start drawing.
Yay, okay.
And like you, I'm not an artist, you know, and I'm currently working on bringing my characters from my internet universe to animation.
Cool.
And it is that weird thing of like, I'm not an artist. And back then, animation was an artist medium. And I grew up thinking there's no way I could ever work in animation. I don't draw. That's bullshit.
There's ways. There's board, as like in animation, there's board forward shows, which is artist forward shows, and then there's writer forward shows. It's the same here. You're the writer and the creator of this.
The artist.
And you got the artist to fill in the gaps.
No, they're amazingly better. My scary stick figures would have scared everybody away. You're much better off, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about this because, you know, the more people know, the more likely younger folks who are trying to figure themselves out can, I can do this.
Absolutely.
I didn't think I could.
It becomes an option.
Absolutely.
It becomes an option that they didn't know they had.
Correct.
Well, all those little girls that dressed up today and came up to your booth, they know.
I know.
Yes, they know.
So we already did good. I already went above and over like what I thought, right? Because I already was like, this one little girl is a superhero in her mind. Like, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
I would say a lot more little girls, but like it's just like I accomplished it already. Now she's a superhero.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. And I think next time we see you, maybe next year, you're gonna already be telling us about the movie you're making. That's the dream.
Yes, or TV show. I'll take anything right now.
Hell yeah.
And if you need a PA, you know, me and Jenny, we're really good PAs. We'd love to be on set.
You're a good PA. I'm not a good PA.
No, I'm a terrible PA. What the hell am I talking about? Terrible production assistant.
You can be my bad first AD.
Okay,
There you
perfect.
go.
Okay, perfect. There we go.
You got a good upgrade.
Okay, next we have Javier Hernandez. He is the co-founder of this wonderful expo and a comic book artist himself.
And a cartoonist.
And a cartoonist. And, you know, one of the things that you said as you were sitting down next to us is that you're an educator. And
Yes.
I am so interested in how you teach what you do. Like, if right now, like, I'm terrible at drawing. I am sort of a storyteller. But, like, if you were to give me a few pointers on how to start out in this world, what would you say? What are some of the most important things?
Well, I love walking into the class, and because you always have the students, hey, mister, I can't draw.
Yeah.
Like you were telling me. But I go, okay, you can't draw, you say. You like telling stories.
Yeah.
You like talking to people. You like expressing yourself. They go, yeah, okay, well, a comic is expressing yourself, but it's through pictures. So you can do stick figures to tell a story. Like, don't compare yourself to me. You know, I've been doing this forever. I'm
That
a
looks so
professional.
good.
That is
Yeah.
so dope.
Well, I don't want to intimidate the kids, but I said, don't worry about drawing like me.
Yeah.
draw a stick figure. Think of a story. Like, I don't know, what happened to you today? Well, I woke up, I got out of bed, I went downstairs and poured a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
I go, can you draw a stick figure in the bed? Lying down, you know, box with, and they go, yeah. So I just walk them through it. And then you got up, you just draw the stick figure standing up. They're like, I can do that. And then I try to encourage them, well, you know what, let's go beyond stick figure. Let's make the figure a little more, you know, with volume and such, whatever.
Yeah.
So I walk them through it, and the next thing you know, we finish a one-page comic. And I'm like, look, you just made a comic.
So at the end, you're like, do you have a story to tell?
Yeah, and everybody does.
Yes.
Because you're always talking, I'm sure you kids are on the texting your friends, that's a story. All I'm asking you is to do a story on paper with a pencil. We're not even going to spend a lot of money. How much is a paper and pencil? Maybe 50 cents.
Yeah.
So I try to make the kids don't get intimidated by all this professional work.
Yeah.
You know, we're not asking them to make Titanic, $10 million movie.
Yeah.
So I always try to bring it down to their level, and then now let's get to it.
Okay.
And, you know, the other students, you know, hey, no one judge anybody else's art, you know, and don't compare yourself to me or some other professional.
Everyone has their own style, so it's about
Exactly.
discovering their own style. I like to stick. I mean, it's true. Like you start with that to learn how to tell the story.
Right.
And also, what's always fascinated me about I have a couple friends who are comic book artists, and I see the panels and the frames, and I'm just like, that's a whole other technique on its own when it comes to writing.
It is.
Because you have to know I'm going to make a specific frame of this, and that, you know what I mean.
Right.
So how do you explain that?
Yeah, I again, it goes back to, okay, what's your story?
Uh-huh.
I'm sleeping, I woke up. So that could be two images.
Yes.
You're sleeping, you're on the bed, the character's sideways,
Uh-huh.
and now they get up. So now let's just draw them bending up or standing up.
Yes.
So there's your two panels, in the bed, standing up. Like, so you've already done panel 1 and 2.
Yes.
And I go, we're almost halfway through. We're only doing a one-page comic. So I always want to try to reassure them, no, you're not going to do a 80-page book in a 1-hour class.
Yeah.
So it's all about encouraging them to express themselves, but then we're going to do it through a visual medium, drawing. And then it's like kind of holding their hand like, okay, don't worry, you got 2 done. I always do that. Like, oh, we got 3 done. We probably got 3 more panels. So we're halfway done. Your first ever comic. And then they're like, oh, if I stick with it, I'll have a comic at the end of this hour. So
If I stick figure with it.
yeah, yeah.
My jokes are not on point. I haven't had my
that's
tacos
very
today
on
yet.
point. I'm going to
Please don't
steal
know.
that in next class.
So wait, I'm looking at this comic, and this
Yes.
looks like a zombie Maria. Explain this to me.
Yeah, no, zombie mariachi.
Is this a zombie mariachi?
Aztec, yeah, because it's about a young man, Diego de la Muerte. He's born on
Yes.
Day of the Dead, like of course he's going to be called that. On his 21st birthday, he gets killed in a car accident, and then he ends up being resurrected by the Aztec god of death.
Oh my God! Stop.
So I got Aztec mythology, Day of the Dead folklore, Mexican culture, supernatural elements.
And we love this.
It's everything you guys
Latinos
love.
love this.
Dude,
Right.
you know it's crazy? I said this earlier, that like magical realism is very Latino, and
Yep.
that is very much what we see here in
Right.
comics. But I had sort of, and this is probably incredibly obvious to everyone, but it just clicked for me. The whole iconography of the Aztec gods and like the Dia de los Muertos, the connection to
very
the dead.
macabre
It's very
and-
macabre. It's like superhero gasolina. It is like
It's perfectly made for comics.
it's
Yes.
perfectly made for comics. The fact that Latinos are like breaking into this industry is amazing, but the fact that we haven't dominated it at 100% is like surprising.
They're
to
not
me.
really targeting the nerds that most of us are. And when I say nerds, you know what I mean? Like we're like we are into this shit.
We love all our
Hardcore.
comics
Every
or
comic book
movies or
convention
games.
I go to, it is majority Latinos for anything, whether it's zombies, horror, Star Wars,
Action, romance.
superheroes, all of it, and we're the ones putting in most of the money in the movie theaters
Yeah,
when it
we
comes
are.
to these.
We
You know what
are.
I mean?
We
But then
love-
we don't see each other. We don't see ourselves represented as much in these mediums of mainstream.
Which gets us to your next question. You're going to ask me, so why did you create the expo?
Yeah,
the
why
exact
did you create
reason.
the expo?
Thank you. No, that because you're totally getting that point.
Yeah.
Is we wanted to create, me and Ricardo, give a platform for all the artists that we knew at the time, writers, artists, cartoonists, web design, whatever you want to call it, to give them a platform to have their place to display their work.
Yes.
And it gives the audience, like you, people who want to read these books, well, come to the Latino Comics Expo because that's all you're going to find here. Whereas you go to Comic-Con, WonderCon, whatever, yeah, you might find a few Latinos doing stuff that you like. So here's a one-stop shopping experience for the audience, and then, of course, a platform for the creators. So
yeah, this is incredible.
I mean, a zombie mariachi dude is like,
fuck you.
That is a pretty badass.
This is the right place to talk about
and
this.
I'm a big fan of The Crow, and I know that that's targeting like Crow fans.
What's a Crow? What's the Crow?
The Crow movie with Brandon Lee. It's 20 years now?
Yeah,
25 years? Wow.
I'm really bad at all things.
Well, it's a cult film. It's a great film. But like she was saying earlier, people just love supernatural. They love gothic elements.
Yes.
This is a guy who comes back from the dead. He's very popular with women. Women love these old gothic dead guys, I guess.
I like his look a lot.
The mariachi suit, it's very iconic. There we go. Got a lot of female fans. I appreciate that.
This two-dimensional man is three-dimensional in my heart.
Folks, these women are digging these comics.
No, for real. Like, I love his entire look. This is like my type entirely.
Oh my god, it kind of looks like your husband. Jenny, kind of looks like your husband.
Kind of does, yeah, actually.
So your husband still has his heart in his chest.
My husband,
his was ripped out.
That's true.
Well, she might have it in her hand.
But he's super into comics. I mean, he's Latino, and so like this is the kind of stuff we love to read because I'm more into independent everything. And I don't mean to sound like a hipster.
No.
But like, indie comics are where it's at.
Most of the people here, they do their work independently or through a small publisher,
which is great.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually
the
way to go.
This is incredible. What if I'm a newbie? Okay, I'm a newbie.
Okay.
I'm sort of new into this world. This has been my first foray into comic books.
Wow.
It's very exciting.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
What do you have to say to me, like someone who is starting her journey reading these remarkable books?
Right.
What should I keep in mind, and what should I look to read?
Okay, well, I'll say this is simple. I probably know the answer. You like movies. I'm sure you like streaming shows.
Yes.
You probably like TV shows, probably cartoons, maybe video games.
All that.
Okay, so it's the same thing. It's a visual story.
Yeah.
It's these are words and pictures. So you
easily visualize it like a movie before your eyes.
Yeah. So for you, you're a consumer. You like story. It's just a story.
Yes.
Like any of these comics, they're just stories. Like your Netflix shows you like your movies you like.
But you know what I love about this though? This is you. And you only.
Yeah.
And you made this, and you don't have people telling you not to put this and not to
Right,
put that,
no, right.
and not
That's
to
the
filter
freedom.
this and not to filter that.
Right.
You don't have someone with a different perspective, maybe being the camera person that's involved in it.
Right.
You are the cameraman,
I'm the makeup
writer,
lady,
you're
I'm the
makeup
wardrobe
lady,
person,
designer.
I'm the script girl, I'm the caterer for myself. Yes, no. So you're getting 100% in my case, because a lot of writers, sometimes there's a writer, artist on a book, whatever, a letter. Yeah, I'm a cartoonist. Everything in here, I wrote, drew, created, colored. So you're getting 100% my vision. It's like I sat you down for an hour and let me tell you a story about El Muerto. And, But I can't do that. I got too many people I gotta talk to. But you can read the comic. But 100% my vision, and it's just a story like any other story you like to consume.
And as an educator, what has been your proudest moment with any is there a specific student, any moment that you want to share with us?
In teaching in class, you got 20, 30 kids sometimes, and you're always talking, they're talking, you're showing stuff. And then at one point I realized, oh crap, it's been 10 minutes and the room is dead silent and all these kids are hunched over and they're just drawing and working. And it's like, that's the sound of creation.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite time in the class. Not because I want the kids quiet, like they're engaged in their storytelling.
Really
they don't need any feedback from me. They don't have any more questions.
They're
It's
creating.
like that little girl, she's creating a story. That guy's creating his first. So that's probably my favorite.
Oh, that's so.
It's all zen. Not to get all zen about it.
For
But
sure, but
I mean, we're in California. Let's get
it's
zen,
very
bro,
spiritual.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. And I'm still getting paid as by not talking because they're. Sorry, boss.
Yes,
who heard
yes.
Well,
No,
thank you
that's
so
awesome.
much for joining us and for inviting us to this expo. I mean, this has been remarkable.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thanks for inviting me in my expo to come talk to you guys about
Look at
comics.
this. There's so many layers to this invitation, bro.
Our listeners are gonna love it.
Thank you, listeners, and thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Well, Jenny, we had a very fun time here. This is the first time we record in person.
Yes.
And I have to say, it was a lot. We were also surrounded by like hundreds of people. We went from like doing Zoom to the opposite.
which is
a lot, but it was remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is how much our culture is just geared towards this world.
And the big through line is that if you don't see yourself, make it yourself.
Make it yourself.
Whether it's a comic book, whether it's a script, or even a convention, an expo.
Yes. Girl, you're like tying it all together so perfectly.
I did, like in a little bow, but I don't know how to tie bows very well. But maybe verbally, perhaps.
Tie it up very well.
I hope you enjoyed our first in-person, on-location live recording of a Hyphenated episode. We still have one more interview recorded at the convention that we will release separately with the legendary Hernandez brothers, creators of influential Love and Rockets, one of the first alternative comic books ever released. So stay tuned for that.